Hello, Life Vantage. Darren Jensen coming to you again live from our Pro 5 Summit up in Midway, Utah. And I've got with me Pro 5, Ryan Fry.
How you doing, everyone?
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Ryan's from Utah, one of our Pro 5s out of Utah, one of the local guys, so we see him in our offices quite often. And it's good to finally interview you.
Absolutely. It's good to be in the hot seat.
Well, it's not that much of a hot seat. But before we get into the interview with Ryan, and we just call him Rye, so if you hear me say Rye, that's who it is. So before we get on with Rye, just want to let you know we are continuing to give away our shirts, which are Pro 5 Summit shirt.
That's
so
awesome.
If you want to be in for the drawing of the Pro 5 shirts, well, we'll give away a few of them. Just put down your name, your city, state, country where applicable, and we'll get you into the drawing. And with that, let me go ahead and introduce Rye. So, Rye's a single father of 5 kids.
5 kids.
Wow, 5 kids, single dad. That's that'll keep you busy right there, man. Well, really quick, how old's your oldest?
18. 18 down to 5.
18 to 5.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Four daughters and 1 son.
Okay, and where does the son fall in there?
He's the 4th, so he's my 7-year-old.
Okay, I didn't know if he is the oldest or a baby or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so cool.
Yeah.
So 5 kids. You've been in network marketing for 14 years.
Yes.
And you've been with Life Vantage. How long have you been with us now?
Started in September.
So in September. So it's
Yeah.
not been very long.
No.
But over those 14 years, you've built organizations in over 35 countries.
Yeah.
You love to travel and experience new cultures. And his favorite quote is, "From one acorn, 1,000 forests are born." That's cool.
Yes.
I like that quote.
Yeah, it was interesting. My grandfather told me that when I was a young boy. And my grandfather started in the industry back in Shackley days.
Oh, wow.
In the 1950s. And his company still ranked 63 in the top 100.
Yeah.
And when I was a young boy, he mentioned that. And I didn't understand it at first. I mean, I just kind of was like, okay, Grandpa, no problem. But as I got into the industry and, had further conversations with him, it expanded tremendously. So from one person, thousands of people are affected, or thousands of forests are born across the world, and I've never forgotten it.
I'm gonna have to record that one down. That's a good one.
Yeah.
So your grandfather was in the industry. Was your father also, or your parents? Or
No, we
did it skip
just
a
kind of
generation?
were. Yeah, we just my mother and my father just kind of did their thing, and we were kind of, always looked at Grandpa. He had a lot of success in the industry, and it was kind of on the family side, corporate side. And then I transitioned in 2003 is when I started in the industry. And he was very proud. Everyone else thought I was crazy. You know what I mean?
He's probably like, finally,
Yeah.
finally I have somebody in it.
Yeah, one of his offspring started in network marketing, and it was a really tough time, actually. We kind of lost a family business to venture capitalists, and I decided to be my own, boss, so to speak, own my own life, Darren. And network marketing was the only thing that I could see that I could keep that answer or have an answer to that question. And so I came home, and literally in 2003, from that decision, it has taken me to over 35 plus countries. I've built all around the world, mainly internationally, believe it or not. Little boy from Sandy, Utah.
Yeah.
And scared to death to leave the bubble of Utah.
Yeah.
And now find myself all over the world. And
Where do you typically grow internationally? Where have you found?
Europe has been fantastic for me, and also South America is really where I've built.
Why particularly Europe, or maybe, as I've worked in 130 countries now, and I see that regions in different countries have different styles and different potentials, but. So I have ideas on why you did that, but why for you? What did you see in Europe in particular?
Well, I think a lot of it was when you really understood how to sort and sift through your group as a leader, and most of my distribution was in these countries. But what I did find was the mindset over in Europe was completely different than America. And they would drive 8 or 9 or 10 hours just to see you for 30 minutes, and I thought, holy cow! If I can't build a business with this mindset. And so I think it's just forced me into, loving the people, loving the cultures, and really identifying with that work ethic. Coming from a very disciplined work ethic myself, And I've just found that Europe has been fascinating to me, but the people there in and of itself, tremendous leaders. And then you go to South America.
To add on to that, in addition to what you saw too, I see that Europeans are typically very serious when it comes to product.
Absolutely.
And they really look at it more critically. And once they start on something, they're very consistent and they keep going. So it's a little slower build.
Correct.
But then once they get going, they're there.
It gets fun.
Yeah, they're dedicated.
Yeah, it gets fun, especially the Germans.
Well,
right? I mean, if you can pass the test in Germany, you are going to conquer all of Europe.
No.
You know what I mean? And then the mindset in South America was totally different. It was a mindset of having a gift that allows hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people to literally get out of their financial situation, and they accept network marketing tremendously and are just such humble, just very loving people, and I loved working with people like that.
I totally agree on that. I think also the culture there is generally very family and networked oriented. So they were they're natural networkers just because that's kind of the cultural way that they're raised, and it makes them powerful in growing a business. So
it was interesting. The first time I went down there and we filled the room, and half of them were children, half of them were grandparents, and you know what I mean? It's just the whole family comes.
Absolutely.
And at first you're kind of overwhelmed, but then you accept it and you see it for what it is, and there's such a supportive, family-driven culture, and I love that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you've been in the industry. Well, first, so how did you end up at LifeVantage? Why? So you've been in the industry 14 years. How did you end up here?
Yeah, good question. I've always looked at this industry as if you can really trust your journey, because there's times along my 14 years I thought, what am I doing? What am I doing with my life? What am I doing? My groups are going this way, I'm going this way, and you're growing as an individual person. But I had the passion, I had the love for the industry, but I've definitely built in some big companies, and I was mentored by some great people in the industry. And I've met some tremendous people on the corporate side. And in that 14 years, my friendships have always stayed the same. No matter what direction I found myself going, Darren, literally I kept and maintained those friendships. And so, as you give time, my life ended up to where I was in transition. And I was approached and got a phone call, just like everyone who's listening to my voice who's done network marketing, and you answer the phone and you say, yeah, I'm open to some things. But here's what's crazy, totally crazy.
Okay.
I was at the first LifeVantage meeting that was ever taken place over at the Homewood Suites.
Really?
And for whatever reason, I said no at the time. My life, timing, wherever I was. And but it was interesting how many times I was approached by leaders within LifeVantage, and it was always on my mind, and I always was in the shadows just kind of watching. And tremendous success. And then all of a sudden, when you really dive into it over the last 9 years and go, holy cow, this is a solid company that really only did it with about, I think, 4 or 5 countries that you guys were open in. And so I'm sitting here going, this is crazy to do $200+ million in 9 years with only a small amount of countries. And now they're starting to expand. And that's really what got my attention, is because I was an international guy with tremendous networks in those areas. And then we're at the forefront of opening those countries. And then looking at the science, looking at the corporate staff. I mean, the list just went on and on and on. The stars aligned, and I said, this is going to be my last build.
And that's what I see with people too often that may not be familiar or new in the industry. They figure at the first touch somebody may have with the business that if it's not the right time for them, that's a permanent, written in stone. Yeah. They're never ever going to join. But you're saying you've been approached multiple times over the years. You're even at the first meeting. You're killing me, man, on that one. But,
no, I know.
But it just wasn't the right time. Now's the right time.
It couldn't, like, if I was to wave a magic wand for my life as far as a company that had all the stars aligned for Ryan Fry, for where I've built, where my networks are, and how to just expose that, this company by far is 100-fold over any company sitting on the planet today in this industry.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. and I'm excited. I like to come from the corporate side where I was, previously, and to get back into the field as a field leader. Man, I'm excited. Yeah.
So with that, you may not have mentioned that. So you've been both on corporate and on the field side.
I have.
And previous to this, you're corporate side.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And it was interesting because when I looked at this industry and said yes to it, I wanted to be a professional, all encompassing, right? And so when the opportunity came to kind of, look at the corporate side, I thought, man, what an opportunity to learn and understand from that perspective to ultimately take that back into the field, because it's a true partnership. I mean, Darren, this is a true partnership, right? I couldn't do what I do on a day-to-day basis without your team and your vision, and vice versa.
No, I
and I never understood that more so than where I came from, and now infiltrating my network and going to work with that respect.
And that's where I think if it ever comes out of alignment, either on the corporate side or on the field side, that the other doesn't recognize the other side as its partner.
Correct.
That's where you have a problem, and that's what I like about LifeVantage. I think we've got a great balance that both sides respect the contribution of the other side.
Yeah, absolutely.
And together is what creates the magic.
It's magic. I mean, and we can't, it's almost like we talk about the word magic, right? It's just there. There's no recipe, it just happens. And like Justin Rose and Dave Fleming and Kelly and Callie, and I mean, the list goes on and on. Skylar and Ryan Goodwin and Cortland. I mean, I could just keep going on and on. And you go, how could you fail with a corporate infrastructure that way? Because when you look at the pedigrees of your guys, it's deep. And you guys know what you're doing. And so if the only thing we have to do is just go tell the story, it's a pretty simple job.
We were sitting around a table. We had most of our sales group, as well as our general managers, and they took account of how many years it represented in the industry around the table. I don't know, Dana, were you in that?
No.
Okay. Dana, fortune's off screen here. I thought she might, but because I think it was.
It's over 100 years, I think, is what it was like.
I think it was
300
years. Something like that, of just the people around the table.
Unbelievable.
So, yeah, it was... it was
330 years.
330 years. I remember because it was 300 and that, and I said, oh, well, maybe it should be 362 because I'm at 28. And you said, no, we already included your number. I'm like, okay. But, 300 and how many again?
30 years.
330 years of experience around the table.
Yeah, and how do you put a price on that? You can't.
Yeah.
I mean, for us on the field side, I mean, it's a magic bullet that literally allows us to go forward with tremendous confidence, knowing that there's so many moving parts in our industry, especially this company, that as distributors we don't control. It's total trust with regards to that, and you guys are flawless all the time. Well, it's a great partnership.
I wouldn't say flawless, but
they get better every day.
But I can say that is our focus, and that's what we're dedicated to.
Yeah. And
it's to get better every day.
Yeah.
So let me talk to you about when it comes to the business. You've been in it for a while now. Whenever we do strategic planning, and we're just going through several sessions of strategic planning for the upcoming fiscal year, a question that I always ask is, all right, what do we do more of? You know, we look at all these different metrics and numbers and say, okay, now that we've looked at the industry, we've looked at what we're doing, what do we do more of and what do we do less of? So I'd pose the same question to you. What do you think that, as a field members, that you would like to see people doing more of, and what would you like to see people doing less of?
That's a good question. I think let's talk less of first. Okay. I think the biggest thing that I would give anybody as far as advice from my experience in 14 years is stop comparing yourself to other distributors. Okay. I just think it's such a judgmental place that keeps people stuck because our journeys are so different in this industry. My journey is completely different. I have a 14-year head start, and so that's going to be much different than a brand new person coming in today. You know what I mean? And there's oftentimes we get in these great meetings, we come to these conventions, and we see people cross the stage, and we're in instant compare mode. It's like, how long have you been in the industry? Oh, you're a Pro 5 already? Well, I've been in the industry or this company for a year, and I'm only a Pro 3. And it becomes this detriment to them, as opposed to, you know, if they stop doing that and just recognize their own journey and the lessons they're going to learn with their own journey on becoming a professional as a LifeVantage distributor, their speed will happen so much greater. Now, on the flip side, one of the things that I focus on personally, I call them IPAs, income producing activities. Because there's a lot of times I see distributors, they're working on their business, meaning I'm going to my computer, I'm looking in my back office, I'm creating my names list. But if you don't actually expose and enroll and do those things, how do you grow your business? And so if you're not working on income producing activities, calling people, exposing people, enrolling people, training people, edifying people, loving on people, sorting and sifting through those influences, it's a really difficult build for my field leaders. And so those would be the two biggest. Stop comparing yourself, and then work on income producing activities that grow your business. The only thing that grows our business is volume, consumption, right? So whether that's a customer or a distributor joining our business and consuming the product, that's the only way we're going to grow and rank and continue to build.
That's probably the, you know, speaking of that, it's probably the greatest challenge I see in, and I'm not speaking about our field leadership per se. I'm speaking about all field leaderships of the companies I've been in. If there is one trap that a leader can fall into, I think it's the failure to realize that on your business you have a front door and a back door.
Yeah.
And if the back door is bigger than your front door of people coming in, your business is going to get smaller. And sometimes leaders can go into a management mode, and they forget that really they always need to stay in the 80-20 rule, which is 80% of the time should be on these income producing activities.
Absolutely.
And then maybe 20% managing the business.
Yeah.
As a leader, how do you overcome falling into that mode? Because I like what you're saying. Stay focused on what is driving the volume through your business. How do you do that?
You know, it's interesting. I'm a quote guy, and I love this quote, and I've never forgotten it. Show me a satisfied man, and I'll show you a failure. And I think there's times where people start to rank advance. They become a Pro 3, a Pro 4, a Pro 5, and then all of a sudden they're stuck, right? They just get slammed. And I'm not sure if it's I'm satisfied because I'm comfortable in my comfort zone, and therefore that's why I'm stuck, or we've stopped really what I think, honestly, Darren, I call it the 95-5 rule. And a lot of times as leaders and in this industry, people get focused on how do I do the business? How do I say the exact, perfect quote to recruit someone? How do I call Darren and have this perfect conversation? And we script these things out, and we're doing all this psychological stuff in our mind, thinking that it's about the perfect delivery, right? When in fact it has nothing to do with that. And so what I do and what I'm trying to accomplish specifically within LifeVantage in my group starting out is that we get focused on self-abundance and self-development. Taking on your life outside of just network marketing, outside of just LifeVantage. Because 5% will grow. Like if you had a tough relationship, or you're in debt, or you're struggling in life with just real life, I call it life as lifing, and we can't get that stuff cleaned up, it's going to be very difficult for a person to build a business. You know what I mean? You really have to have a clear mind, a lot of the clutter outside of your heart and mind. And so I tend to focus on how do I develop and increase you as an individual person. And what I've seen is when that person self-develops, boom, he grows to here, and all of a sudden his group follows. And it's so bizarre. We don't have to sit and focus on, you got to memorize this script, and then you got to call, and you got to make this names list in this amount of time. It's self-develop, boom, your group will follow. Self-develop, grow. So if you look at all your Pro 10s and your Pro 9s and Pro 11s, and you look at them as an individual person, just a human being, they're massive. I mean, they're giants, And their groups are right there with them.
Yeah, I definitely agree that the business will only grow to the level that the leader is capable of.
And that's why I love being at Pro 5 Summit. I mean, here I am 14 years, and I've been mentored by two people today, Tara and Blue. And I can't even say Blue's name without getting pretty emotional, because we had a chance to spend some time. And I would challenge anyone in LifeVantage, if you haven't heard Blue's story, please do so, because after that conversation, Darren, I looked at my own life and thought, how dare you You know, how dare you sit in your poor little unhappy me state, or life's tough, after hearing Blues. And so I just have to say thank you, Blue. It was an incredible, and I know that story and the way you guys are taking on your life with regards to Life Vantage is inspiring, to say the least. And I love that.
So let me spin off of that a little bit. And I agree, Blue's story is powerful. And it's all right. So let's say that me as a leader or me as a distributor, I'm having a hard time. I'm having some bad days. How do I turn that to benefit me? How do I learn from it? How do I turn it into data that can actually turn out to be positive for my business?
Great question. I mean, the way I look at failure is I've never really believed in right or wrong. I think there's tremendous lessons in making a mistake as opposed to making the right decision. I look at more of what's the result. You know what I mean? And as distributors, we have the ability to really take on our own business, our own Life Vantage business, but looking at the results. So the way that I look at it is there's not a right or a wrong. Now there's uplines and there's people that are helping us and assisting us with our Life Vantage business with regards to mentorship and how to really do that, more so to avoid the big pitfalls, to avoid I call it the unnecessary brain damage, you know? How we let distributors go and they come and they say, well, I want to do it this way. And you're like, well, okay, it's your business, you can do that, but I promise you it's going to hurt, right?
Yeah.
And so I think there's value, and I really want to challenge everyone who can hear me, is look at the lesson, whether it's a failed attempt or a really bad day. There are pearls in that lesson and in that bad day that will assist you on your journey to move forward. It'll challenge you in ways that are much different than if you made a different decision, but just be mindful of the result. And I think what happens, Darren, for me to get to Pro 10 and above, I just got to keep tweaking my business to where the right result shows up. And so I know a lot of distributors, they look at it and they say, well, I had a really bad day and I had 10 people that say no. And that could be tough, you know. That could be a good family member, your best friend that says, really, you're doing that network marketing thing? Like, is life that bad? and it stings deep down, right? But how do you take that and use it as fuel to continue to drive you forward, knowing the end results? Because Life Vantage is life-changing from a monetary standpoint, and especially from a health standpoint, right? And then I always look at people that say no to me and say, how are you not interested in creating a better health for yourself, more finances for yourself, and more time freedom to enjoy both of those? And usually when you can donkey kick them, I call it, like that, they kind of look at it and they say, you know what, you're right. You know, what are you doing? And so I think there's valuable lessons in the mistakes, tremendously.
I was texting back and forth with a friend of mine that's heads up a company within the industry. It's not a network marketing company, but kind of a support one. He had been going through a tough period, a tough patch.
Yeah.
And I texted him back and I said, great people always go through tough patches.
Yeah.
Because if you go through life and you don't have some battle scars, then you've probably never accomplished anything worthwhile.
Yeah, you're right.
And I reminded him that he had accomplished a lot of things worthwhile.
Yeah.
And that's why he had some battle scars.
Yeah.
And so I would agree, if you are turning into a great person, you're gonna have some scars, you're gonna have some ups and downs, and you're gonna fail a bunch. But you're gonna succeed a bunch too.
You're right. We fail more so than we succeed in this industry. And it's a crazy mindset, right? That you have to start learning to love the failure of tripping forward, I call it, right? You're still, progress is progress. So as long as you're tripping or stumbling forward, and then you pick yourself back up and you dust yourself off and you go, wow, that didn't really feel good. So yeah, I'll probably follow my upline and do this, and then all of a sudden the right result shows up and you get better as a professional networker. And I love that, because I look at Life Vantage from my time that I've been in here, and I look at the field and look at the leaders from a Pro 1 all the way to Pro 10. Wow, we've got some amazing people.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Well, our time is going by super fast. So one final question. All right, so if I'm joining the business, or I'm currently in the business, I'm at multiple ranks, whatever rank you might be. I was speaking with the Pro 5s in here today. I gave a little talk at the beginning, and really at certain ranks, you can probably drive to those ranks out of sheer will of yourself. But at a certain point, fours, fives, especially sixes, it's team. You've got to be able to start duplicating.
Yeah.
Talk to us about how you duplicate in your business, or how you, what are the keys for duplication so that you can grow big teams?
Yeah. Me personally, Darren, I think the very most important time in a distributor's life is the first 7 days. I mean, I take that first 7 days with my group so serious, because if I can't properly set them up, the right result can't properly come into their life with a lot of speed. So I don't want people tripping and stumbling. And what I mean by that are just some of the, I call them the sophisticated basics. They're just some basics in our industry that if you can't figure out, you're going to trip and stumble. And so the first 7 days for me, onboarding them on correctly. You know, making sure they have their uplines information, making sure their auto ship is set up correctly, so you're not chasing them the next month to try to set that up. You know, getting your names list on a paper, and a lot of people look at their names list and they go, "Are you serious? You're going to make me write names? Like, come on, right, Fry? Are you kidding?" Absolutely not, because like we look at our life, right? You're only as healthy as the blood in your body, correct? If you have unhealthy blood, you're a very ill person. I look at my names list as the blood of my business. And so I'm always adding. And so, but there's secrets, I guess, or not secrets, I guess pearls of the names list on how do you work the names list. And so my first 7 days with my group is really intense on getting them set up properly and doing the right thing, because the right behavior creates the right result, which keeps them in the system and keeps them moving towards Pro 3. Like I remember, I believe it was Skylar that told me, if you make it to Pro 1, you're 9 months in the business and then you're out. You make it to Pro 2, you're 18 months. If you make it to Pro 3, 65 months you're in the company, 5.5 years. And so that's, for me, the setup point for that first 7 days sets the tone for them hitting Pro 3.
You know, you were setting up a lot of my talk. I'm giving a talk about an hour long at the end of today, but you're going to want to listen to this, because I actually start sharing some principles, a new one out, because if you've watched my other videos, I talk about the first dollar principle. I talk about the power of events, but I have two new principles. One is the power of the importance of correct closing, and the other one is the golden window. Because you're talking about how you focus on the first week. We've went back and I had them do a statistical analysis of all distributors in 2017 with the company, and I'm looking at trying to determine what I call a golden window. I was in firefighting, and if you're in medicine or if you're an ambulance like paramedic, you know that if somebody's critically damaged or hurt, that you have, I think they call it the golden hour. You've got about an hour to really get that person to some treatment. So I started saying, okay, where is this golden window of time that really will have an effect if you can cause engagement in that time? Statistically, we've been able to narrow that down. It's not quite 1 week, but we haven't looked at it on, it's 2 weeks right now. But we're having them break it down by week. And the first one, but I'm having to look at multiple things, and I believe that it may be, I'll have them look at it by the first week, it may even be more powerful. But I can tell you this, that we're looking at if you came in and enrolled a customer or a distributor within your first 2 weeks, and then the next period was 2 weeks to 2 months, and then 2 months to a year, and then a year and beyond. What effect did that have on the overall growth? And it is staggering.
I can't wait. And that's tonight?
That's at 4 o'clock. I can tell you that, it's, and I'll do a Facebook Live and walk through some of these other principles, but I think it will arm you with some ammunition to say, because I'm walking through lifetime values of distributors, of customers, and we're able to quantify it in dollars. And it's pretty powerful. So that's what you get up here at Pro 5 Summit. So, Rye, thank you.
Thank you.
Glad to have you on and taking time out of your busy schedule here. I know that Pro 5 Summit, he's actually spending time with us during his lunch time. So Thank you.
We're biohacking my lunchtime.
We are biohacking.
And it's perfectly
the
fine.
lunch. And thank you guys for joining us here on our Facebook Live, because I know that you have busy days too. And these Pro 5 summits are just great times where you get to interact with some of the top leaders. You get to form the relationships with other people here. Like just as we're standing here, Blue Elam, our Pro 11, came walking up behind. Why don't you come out and say hi? Blue?
Yeah, incredible.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
I just finished my lunch.
I can't tell if you're on camera or not
you
here,
can see us.
but
Awesome.
Interacting with Blue here and Tara Wilson are just some of the quality of leaders that you really get to spend a lot of one-on-one time with. So
it's incredible.
So if you haven't joined us here at Pro 5 Summit, make sure that you're here with us on our very next one, which is, I don't know, it's coming up probably in the summer or the fall. So anyway, from all of us here up at the Pro 5 Summit, thank you. And thank you, Rye,
thanks, Darren.
for
Thanks
spending some time with us.
Absolutely.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
See ya.
Thanks, Blue.